Welcome back to episode 94 of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, I-Man.
What's going on?
Can you believe we've done 94 of these, dude?
I can believe, dude.
Can?
We've been cracking at this for a while, dude. What you mean?
Dude, 94 feels...
94 seems like nothing, dude. Just because, like, I was, like, an OG Joe Rogan follower.
Oh,
like,
okay.
I started listening to his podcast, like, probably, like, episode 50 or 60 of his, you know? So I was, like, one of the, you know, I was never a new I was an old you know what I mean? So I sat through years of his podcast. Now he's like in the 1500s or something like that. So
yeah.
I see the journey. I've seen the journey, you know, and we're just getting started, dude.
Yeah. I mean, 94 to me, it seems like a big number, but I mean, you're right.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah, a lot of the podcasts I listen to, they're like in the 500 range, 600.
That's true. So because they all started later, I guess. But
yeah,
I guess I use Joe Rogan as like a benchmark. So yeah, this seems like peanuts, but it is a lot, dude. 94, Jeebus. It's been almost 2 years.
Joe Rogan's like the gold standard of podcasts.
True. We'll probably never be as cool as him, but anyways,
definitely not.
We can be cool in our own way.
Yeah,
metaverse cool. So speaking of metaverse cool, there's like something really cool happening.
Some huge news from Decentral Games, man. Like,
yeah, we never really talked much about Decentral Games, unfortunately, like on our show, on our podcast. Just, I think for a couple of reasons. One, we're like Americans, dude. So there's never any hope of us like participating like in his ecosystem. You know what I mean?
That's true,
like,
dude.
So for me personally, like, I don't have like other than like general curiosity to go visit his casino, like just to see like, you know, the creation of it is really nice to check out, but I can never be a player, you know. So
yeah, and then inherently, I'm just not a gambler. I mean, I've gambled before, and it's cool. It's I don't know. It doesn't do it for me.
You don't get like a thrill at all. What happens when you put your chips on the table? Like, do you feel like complete regret that moment?
Yeah, pretty much.
Even before the outcome is determined, you're like, dude, I should have done that. Like, that was stupid.
It's because the odds are stacked against you, and I like to play a skilled-based game. And blackjack, I mean, a lot of these are skilled to a certain extent, but I like to control my destiny just a little bit more.
Yeah, dude, I would think gambling would be right up your alley because you like math and shit.
I like probabilities and numbers and all that.
Yeah, poker like is perfect for somebody who enjoys that kind of shit, you know, because you have to mentally calculate all that stuff.
And you know what? I just haven't had the motivation to do the probabilities like in real time for like a given hand, like card counting and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do it. It's just I don't know. There's just no interest in doing that for one reason or another. But yeah, so the huge news is that they're launching a DG token for Decentral Games Casino. So what's awesome is that you can mine DG tokens by playing in their casino.
Yeah,
and they have a little some incentives to increase like the player base in terms of like the table that you're playing at. So if there's 4 people at the table, you start mining more of the tokens, and the rate that you mine is essentially for every 1,000 die that you spend in the game, you collect 1 DG token per 1,000 die. And it's as if we had designed this tokenomics, because if we were running the casino, we probably would have done almost exactly the same thing.
Yeah, we've been talking about or flirting with just theory crafting along the way about like, does a token make sense for MetaZone as a platform? For sure, it makes sense for MetaZone, but it's like, how do you design tokens around game experiences? That's a little more difficult, I guess, because the whole incentive to do that is to, I guess, incentivize your player base to want to continually engage with what it is you're creating. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
So in CZ, you know, like we're already flirting with the idea of that. You know, if you play the game right now, there's tokens they drop randomly from mobs and shit like that. So there's an obvious potential incentive mechanism there where like the more time you spend playing these games, like the more tokens you can be rewarded with. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in order to be maximally efficient in these games and like kill things quicker, mine more tokens, it requires you to, you know, buy weapons, level them up, all the shit. So it's like the whole ecosystem should make sense, right?
Yeah,
it should all be connected. Like the goal is to play these games, earn as much as you can as a player, but in order to do that, you gotta level up your capabilities, I guess. So like there's a whole economy. There's a whole economy involved
incorporated
in
the wearables too. So if you're wearing the wearables while you're playing, you get to mine a higher percentage rate. The tokens.
Yeah, exactly. And so in this case, in the casino case, it's like for sure you want to have wearables on deck when you're gambling, right? Because it just means you're earning more.
That's right.
What else? How? I mean, it seems like it's purely volume based, right? Like the way to maximize your earning rate is to spend as much DAI as you can, pretty much.
That's right.
Okay. So yeah, these tokens are going to be super expensive, dude. I would think because
there's only 1 million of them.
It's 1 million tokens.
1 million tokens, and then I think 33% is reserved for like actual gameplay mining.
Yeah, so like off the rip, like around 40% or so is allocated to the team. It looks like over like a vested period, right?
Yeah.
Amongst the team and investors, and the rest of it is just
mineable.
Yeah. So it's not like something that's going to be like a huge supply right off the rip, right? Like you can go to Uniswap and just buy as much as you want.
Right.
Because the supply needs to be mined by the community.
Right.
That's interesting. So what do you think that's going to...
I mean, we've talked about this in the past before. This is a sort of activity that needs to be happening in Decentraland.
Yeah.
All the projects that exist in Decentraland, however big or small, needs to have a token. And all this stuff needs to be basically done by every single project. I mean, and it has to be, there needs to be some way to do this in a very simple way, because you have to manipulate a smart contract to do a lot of this stuff, and not everybody can do that, obviously. So there needs to be some mechanism to do this, and to do this easily, commoditize this functionality. Because right now, it's like, remember back in the day in the 90s, you needed a developer to make a website. Now you don't.
True.
And pretty soon you won't need a developer to make a smart contract. And there's a lot of applications out there that help you make a smart contract, but you need granular level flexibility on some of these game contracts, because the generic smart contract builder is not thinking about you're at a craps table or you're at a blackjack table and there's 4 players playing. All of a sudden, if there's 4, then mine at 40% the rate plus.
Yeah, if anything, like the mineable distribution or allocation, that's like that can be pre-programmed and like become standardized, I think, for like any project in the future to adopt. This is kind of like every 2 weeks, 2% of the supply gets created and allocated to a contract or a wallet, whatever address, and then whatever entity like owns this contract or is assigned to this contract should be able to, I guess, decide the outside allocation from that point, I guess. So you could, like you're saying, you can have more custom distribution. So like the only thing the platform contract provides is like the initial allocation, like the mining distribution, basically.
Yes.
Like that should be like standardized, I think, across like anything that's being built, in the metaverse. At least that's how we see it. Yeah. Like internally, we discuss this all the time. Like this needs, like we already have the advantage of kind of like aggregating all the, the community essentially, like in Decentraland at least. I hope in the future we want it to be like the whole metaverse community.
Yeah.
But if we're attempting to aggregate everybody, then we need to supply them all with the tools to like build, I guess, more efficiently, I guess easier, right? Like, because to do what Decentral Games is doing requires a lot of resources, which they have.
Absolutely.
They're the only ones in this metaverse that has these kind of resources. So it makes sense that they're executing on all this stuff on their own.
100%.
But unfortunately, that's not the reality for a lot of, the creators out there, so.
See, and that presents an opportunity. I mean, just like we were saying that every project needs to be doing this, there needs to be a project that makes this functionality easier to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's
that's
a tall order.
Yeah, I mean, so we're taking it upon ourselves to kind of like we want to standardize this, and we want to see everybody with have the potential to launch their gameverse with these tokenomic structures as like the foundation of them all. You know, just so everyone should have this opportunity. But yeah, unfortunately, it's only limited to those who can execute on it, which requires a lot of resources. So
Yeah.
That's definitely going to be part of our vision. And the thing I love about seeing Decentraland Games executing on this is like I said, we've been discussing this for months. Now we have some actual validation for our thoughts, our assumptions, right? Like,
Yeah,
now we could
we were talking
we could
earlier.
sleep well. Yeah, we could sleep well at night knowing like, you know, someone else is thinking exactly like us, right? And the community's receiving it well. So I mean, technically, like our assumptions are starting to look more and more accurate. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're talking about how we're batting 1,000 right now, perfect on a lot of these predictions.
Yeah, predictions. It's just now it's like you actually got to make them come true.
Yeah,
You know
which is the hard part, man. Everybody can have a great idea, and they can have like this perfect prediction, but if you don't act on it, like it's completely irrelevant.
100%, man. And like we've been saying, everybody always questions like, what's going on with DAU? Why is nobody coming to Decentraland? It's because there's no way to make money in Decentraland. Exactly. We've made this argument since we came into Decentraland. That's always been our goal. How do you get people to start making money? Like, you know, this is never going to take off until that becomes a reality. You know, you need an economy. Economy is the backbone of all activity,
society,
you know? Everything. So in order to do that, you got to inject what you know works. What works are tokens. ERC20 is the economy. You know,
that's right.
There's a huge booming ecosystem out there outside of our metaverse bubble. You know, all we have to do is figure out how to inject all that value into the metaverse, and all of a sudden we're thriving. You know, so that's always been our goal. So this to me is like confirmation we should stay on that path.
Yeah,
that should be our path. You know, we should be focused on, you know, creating the tools to bring this opportunity for all creators.
I mean, think about this. If we commoditize the ability to make these tokens and make it easier, make it functional for a given game all the way down to like an event, you could like go to Frankie's talk show or go to the Sugar Club Casino, show up, like sign some you know, guest book, and then receive your tokens and like claim your tokens.
And people are doing that,
and people would do that, and then people would come in droves just to do that. And that's perfectly good, because what all that means is you spend a couple hours like sitting as an audience member and listening to, like, you know, some dudes speak, and all of a sudden you hear about something new. You hear about a new game. You hear about a new functionality, a new smart contract, a new ability to make money, just because you went to go get a token from Frankie's talk. And all of a sudden you're spending more time on that thing that you listen to, or all of a sudden you're spending more time in Decentraland because there's all these tokens to mine.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, dude, come on, man.
That's all it is. You know, why were so many people incentivized to support Bitcoin as a network, you know, to mine it and all that stuff? Because in the beginning it wasn't worth anything, but they were still willing to put forth the work, you know, and the time to become supporters of that network.
That's right.
That's all tokens are for. It's just like incentive mechanisms for communities to form, basically. Yeah. So, and if we want an actual community in Decentraland like this, you got to bring in the tokens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it brought me to like thinking about what Satoshi and team were thinking about when talking through the incentive mechanism to keep this system going, Bitcoin going. And they must have been like hardcore speculating that this was going to work.
Oh, it had to, because they were making these assumptions with no
data,
nothing. They just had a solid theory hunch. Yeah, they just theorized this whole economic model, and they're like, let's just do it. Fuck it. Yeah. Either it fails or it changes the world. Yeah. You know, so that's worth doing.
I like those types of projects, dude.
Exactly. Either it's a total nothing burger, or, you know, everything just changes because of it. You know, those are the things worth doing. You know, like just take that risk.
Yes.
Fuck it, dude. And Satoshi's sitting somewhere with 1 million Bitcoins right now. Who the fuck knows what he or they or she are doing?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
what?
thought about that, dude. It's like if Bitcoin becomes $1 million, Satoshi's a trillionaire. You
Yeah,
know, isn't that crazy?
yeah, he'd be the first trillionaire because he's got the most Bitcoin.
Yeah. And then what if he just dumps right there? I
Damn.
don't think that's gonna happen, but that'd be insane.
I mean, he doesn't need no one needs $1 trillion, so you can't. Even if
Yeah.
you try to dump $1 trillion, nobody. You couldn't get $1 trillion.
Well, that's the thing. If you tried to dump any of it, like
It would worldwide news for sure.
it would be like aliens are here,
Yeah, yeah.
equivalent of
Equivalent. Yeah, 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 for sure.
like insanity. Like
Yeah.
Satoshi's moving his funds. Like what? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that'd be crazy. But yeah, man. So as soon as you told me this news, like immediately, like the like the light bulbs were coming off and shit. I was like, wow, this is huge. To me, this
Yeah.
is the biggest thing I've heard all year from Decentraland. You know what I mean?
I would have to agree.
Yeah.
What
As far
bigger
as like
news is there?
yeah, as far as like paradigm shifting events, like to me, this is the kickstart.
Yeah, and it sets the precedence. It's like this is
Exactly.
what you have to do.
Yeah, this is what you have to do, you know, because everyone else is struggling to figure out what this formula is, right? To bring engagement and like actual DAU numbers and to build an actual in-game economy, right? How do you do this? And
Yeah.
we've been postulating this is how you do it, and so now we have somebody like to showcase that.
Yeah.
So we got to keep a close eye on this. All of you guys listening, definitely like do your due diligence, investigate. We're not saying go like gamble your fucking life savings away.
Yeah, definitely not.
still be mindful of like what you're doing when you're participating in this ecosystem, right? It's still risky, you know. It's fun. It's fucking thrilling, It's probably one of the funnest things you could do, at least from my perspective, I get my jollies when I gamble, dude. But yeah, like I said, I can't participate, So
Yeah.
I just have to sit here, and you guys who live in the UK and like Australia and wherever the fuck you guys live, you guys can go gamble your asses off at this thing, and you let us know how cool it is.
Yeah.
But
yeah, absolutely. This is definitely, I think, the biggest news in Decentraland so far, and like the biggest thing to realize, the biggest takeaway is that this is sort of like a bare minimum requirement to be a project in the metaverse. If you're, I mean, even the Whip has been doing this. We've been talking about this being a bare minimum functionality for several months now, and I mean, we're suffering from a lack of hands and resources to like accomplish everything that we want to do, but nonetheless, this is like obvious to us. I don't know. It shouldn't be a shock to anybody that this was like coming. I mean, specifically, like from the game theory perspective, if you're building something in Decentraland, like seems like an obvious thing to do. Not an easy thing to do by any stretch, because tokenomics and then integrating that with the functionality of a game, it's not straightforward.
No.
So, I mean, we called it, man.
We did. Sort of,
Does that mean
I
anything?
guess.
Not really.
Yeah, we sort of called it, I guess. So yeah, just the things to look out for is for sure to see how these tokenomics play out. Because there's a large percentage of the token pool left to be mined, right? So we've seen a similar model be deployed by like Rarible, Uniswap, and it hasn't done so well for them. Like such a huge rate of inflation usually weighs down the price in the short term, at least. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm interested to see like the actual value of the DG token. I'm not saying it's gonna like completely dump, but that's what's interesting. You gotta.
Well, if there's only a million tokens, I mean, that's pretty rare, right?
What do you mean?
There's only a million tokens.
Yeah, so that's good, right? You would think.
Yeah.
A lot of these people like to see like very low supply of token, I guess. So it gives you a feeling like I own one of these million, so like I'm a
it's a whale status.
Sort of, yeah. It's like a psychological thing. Like I own a significant chunk of this network. You know what I mean? This ecosystem. Somehow that works. A lot of these DeFi projects, it seems to be the trend in DeFi. A lot of them are like 30,000,
Yeah.
20,000, 60,000, you know, like total tokens. It's
Right.
crazy. So if the DeFi space is like, that's kind of like, I guess they've amongst themselves, like, this is like the ideal token supply. Like, they must have come to that conclusion for
I mean,
a reason.
ultimately, it's just a number. I mean, if you have only 1,000 tokens, but it can be broken up into 16 decimal places, like, then you have a lot of tokens, right, that you can play
Yeah.
with. So it's just it's an arbitrary selection. It's do you want to have a simple number of tokens, or do you want to have a complicated number of tokens? Like,
Yeah, but then you got to think about the psychological ramifications of the price, right? If you have a
Yeah.
simple amount of number of tokens, like 10,000, that simplifies things. But
yeah,
now
then
you're
you're talking about a $25,000 token potentially.
Yeah, so what does that do to like a new
Absolutely.
prospective buyer? You know, I remember when I first got into this space, I was looking at the things that were like the
Obtainable.
cheapest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw things that were like 20, 30 cents. It's like, holy shit, dude, I can own like 100,000 of these or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna buy this. You
Yeah.
know, thinking, what if, without knowing like anything about how like market caps work, or you know, I didn't know anything about tokenomics. I
Yeah.
just saw the price, and that was my
It's like,
gateway in.
what if this turned into $1 each? That would have $100,000.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum of logic you usually apply when you first enter the space, right?
Yeah.
So you, as like a token designer, you got to think about this stuff, I would think.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
but it's
Absolutely.
so
It's intimidating looking at Yearn Finance at 25 grand and be like,
Yeah.
this is a good purchase.
Yeah, like, I guess to like a seasoned investor, we understand like the price doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, it
right?
doesn't.
Like, but if you're trying to attract like a normie base, you know, that's why like XRP is doing so well amongst the normies. You know,
Yeah.
most people don't know what the fuck it is, but like
Yeah.
everyone's talking about it. You know, because it's what, like 20, 30 cents or some shit.
Yeah. Well, it's 60. It's almost 70 cents now, but yeah, it
wow.
proves the point.
Yeah, people are willing to like just jump into like the cheapest perceived vehicle, right? Like,
Yeah.
So they perceive there's more opportunity here. Like,
Right.
Fucking A, man. Yeah, we should seek like an actual tokenomics expert, if there is one out there. I'm sure there are, and like we should like interview somebody.
Dude, that's such a great idea. I think it's relevant. I think it's important. It's useful. Just to get the perspective of somebody who's done this several times.
Yeah, maybe somebody who's actually like launched some tokens for projects or something like that. You know, like I want to understand their thought process. Like, again, I'm making assumptions here. Are my assumptions correct, or am I just shooting shit out of my ass? You know what I mean? Like,
no, I wouldn't expect your assumptions to be, you know, off base by any margin. I mean, because it's just ultimately game theory, and you want to be able to optimize the max supply of tokens for a given price so that it's obtainable, right? Visually appealing, right?
Yeah.
You don't. I don't know if you want to have a token that's worth like 50 grand. I mean, outside of Bitcoin is like in a different realm when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I guess as Bitcoin gets higher and higher in price, like
it becomes
it makes the rest of these tokens, like the tokenomics, less and less important, I guess.
Yeah, I guess the max supply becomes less important.
Yeah,
because think about it. It was like one day, you know, in 2030, Bitcoin's like at $900,000.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, you know,
so all of a sudden everything looks cheap in comparison, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter then at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Bitcoin's just gonna steamroll everything, you know. Dude, that's so crazy. I can't believe like that's the projection, $1 million Bitcoin, dude.
That is, and it's reasonable. Like, that's the crazy thing.
Yeah, like 3 years ago, I would have had a lot more doubt. Like, nah, but the fact that this cycle just keeps chugging along, dude.
Yeah,
like,
it's hanging out 19K.
Yeah, like the rainbow math is working. All that shit, you know, like you can't doubt anymore, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So therefore, you gotta look ahead and be like, wow, I just can't believe it's still there. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm definitely more confident now than I used to be.
It took you a while, dude. I was confident when it was at 3K, and I was like, dude, this is it.
Yeah. I know, but I'm the skeptic, dude. So whatever. So
but nonetheless, I mean, it's pretty wild that Bitcoin's at its current price. It's wild because it was predicted, and it's here. I wouldn't have predicted a $20,000 Bitcoin in December of 2020. I would have said it would happen next year, but I guess that's 2020 for us. It's been the weirdest year that I can remember by a wide margin.
It's definitely been a weird year. You could potentially be infected with COVID right now and not even know it.
Exactly. That's how weird this is. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Fucking A.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to DCG. Anything else? Just I guess like congrats, Baus.
Yeah.
Baus?
Boss man.
Okay. BAUS boss. Yeah. So yeah, man, I've always respected the guy. Like I don't know how long he's been like part of the Decentraland community. I'm assuming probably from the beginning.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I can't remember. I promise we've asked that question before, like on a round table.
Yeah, I think we had a round table, you know, back in the day when the round tables were like hot and fresh. You know, he would make like cameo appearances from time to time.
Right.
I think he kind of like told us his origin story, but it slips my mind.
Yeah.
But I know he's been around for a while, but I always respected the fact that he was always leading the charge as far as like adopting new tech. You know, he was always like way ahead of everybody, like addressing the scalability issues of Ethereum and like, you know, like attaching his project to Matic like from the get-go. Even he had to wait for like a year probably for Matic to get their shit together, you know?
Yeah.
But he knew, like, just off of understanding the tech, like he knew like this is the solution to like his problem. Like his casino is not sustainable unless like
it's frictionless transactions.
Yeah. So he knew he had to attach himself to another project that is working to solve this. So
yeah,
that to me right away just it means your head's screwed on straight. You know what's important in this space. That's right? You're analyzing everything. You're not just like in your own little bubble. You know, you don't have total tunnel vision. You're aware of your surrounding environment.
Yeah, he also has some added obstacles too with like KYC and like money laundering stuff.
Yeah, and I think he's also figuring out like how to onboard fiat into his ecosystem, right? So that's another like, you know, new innovation in the space.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's some like decentralized protocols I think for this now.
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to figure out how to, you know, incorporate that. So all this is good stuff. Like he knows what he's doing. He's very tech savvy, which is good, you know.
Yeah, huge congrats. I mean, raising funds is a hard thing to do. And then launching a token, that's also a hard thing to do. And then just managing everything is running a casino behind all that too. So
yeah, from the he's from the States. He sounds pretty American to me. I think he's from California or something like that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
I'm sure he's not operating out of the States.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, wherever you're operating from, but to have the cojones, dude, to fucking be an American, to try and get away with this shit, like, good luck, dude. Yeah. It's tough. It's a tough country to reside in. Hopefully, you get the fuck out of this freaking brick wall of a country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. Yeah. So also, it's inspirational to us who are like busting our asses off to try and like actually establish a footprint in this ecosystem, right? Because DCG is as of now the only one that's getting like recognition from like these big name investors and all this shit. So it's just, at least there's somebody doing it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's possible. Decentraland is not a total waste zone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If you haven't listened to our previous podcast with Daniel from NFTbank.ai, he talks about what actually creates value for your NFT. So I recommend that watch. Make sure you get to see that so you understand, like, man, that's like, that podcast is like made of gold. A lot of valuable information in there. It sort of proves like what we talk about in terms of NFT art. It proves about like productive NFTs, like, and then like all this is going to be like obvious in a couple of years when there's a lot of productive NFTs out there. So make sure you watch that. And so it was a great conversation.
Yeah, NFTbank.ai, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great talk for sure. I foresee them being it's going to be a household name in the NFT space at some point.
Yeah.
The future.
Yeah, I totally agree. So Daniel was great. I mean, he explained the NFT Bank and like the value and the use case behind it. it's interesting how, you know, a lot of this stuff makes sense, but it takes so much work to put it together that it's always good to see that there's somebody working on it because it's needed. I mean, you'll be able to go to anybody who holds NFTs can use NFTbank.ai and then essentially get an assessment as to what value of worth of NFTs that they're holding.
Yeah, the thing I loved about his story, like when he was going through his origin, is just it's very similar to how we ended up doing what we're doing. Like he was just a regular guy in the space, and then right away by becoming like a participant of it, he started recognizing all of these problems and holes. He's like, "Fuck, dude! Like I don't want to buy these NFTs because I don't even know the true value of them.
Yeah.
Like there's nowhere I could go to actually find this information out."
Yeah.
You know, but there's plenty of shit going on. There's lots of data out there I could like yacht from the sky basically and like suck all this data into a platform that I build.
Right.
And then I could start presenting like actual, valuations to these things to give buyers confidence. You know, the thing that I lacked as a user, you won't anymore. You know, so he's figuring out how to fix that own dilemma he had. You know, so same thing with us in Decentraland. We were building. And we're like, fuck, dude, there's so many problems here.
Yeah.
Like, how do we fix this shit? You know?
Right.
So we're doing the same thing. We're just taking all the data points we have. We're building a platform so like all you future creators don't have to deal with the same shit we had to deal with. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, and I think the biggest takeaway for me was the fact that the more data that you can supply to NFTbank.ai, the more potential value you can extract from your NFTs. So like if you're a project and you're making a project based on NFTs, like us or any project that's making a game, like the more data that you can supply, like gameplay hours, how many daily active users, interactions with the game itself, with the NFTs, like if you can supply that data, the more potential value you can have for all your NFTs. So I like that because it sort of like supports our thesis that NFT art, as interesting as it may seem, it's just hard to put value on. And
simply by the nature of not having enough data
exactly
to support that value. You know, that's it.
And the data for NFT art, like it's not tangible data. Like for example, you can have a famous celebrity make a piece of art, and that would give its value. But to measure the value of a celebrity versus another celebrity, or versus a crypto celebrity, like how do you compare the two values?
Yeah, totally.
Like
well, this is why something like Niftex makes so much sense to me, and like it's super ahead of its time, but it's also going to be something, probably a household name in the future, just because I think it's essential to solve this problem we're talking about with the
lack of
probably like the higher scale NFTs, right? Like not so much the cheaper, like a cheap Axie, like there's probably plenty of data to figure out how much like the base Axies are actually truly valued, right? Because there's tons of flipping of that shit, right?
Sure.
But like these mystic ones or whatever, they're selling for like $100 grand. Like you don't really know the true like demand for this asset unless you like fractionate it into like 1,000 different pieces and you let 1,000 different people start like selling it back and forth to one another.
Yeah.
And you can start to paint a picture of like what people are actually willing to pay for, a piece of this thing. So that's why I asked him during the interview, like, do you foresee any kind of like partnership with Niftex? Because he's the one who brought it up. He's like, have you heard of Niftex? I'm like, oh yeah, dude, we interviewed those guys like a year ago. But it makes sense for them to like kind of like merge their services. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you should be able to go to either platform and use the same functionality in each one, and have a platform where all your NFTs are valued, and then have that same platform be able to take that NFT and shard it into pieces. And
then we could start to actually have some real data and like just a bigger pool of
even more data. I mean, data,
that's what it's all about. Data is
the
so
new
valuable,
oil, right?
Yeah, data is everything.
Yeah.
You can't know anything for sure unless you have data to support like whatever it is you're trying to claim, right? Like and valuation is like the most obvious. If you're saying this thing is worth this, like one data point's not enough, right? Because you never know if someone else isn't like maybe this guy was just a dumbass. He just wasted all that money. You know, you'll never know unless you can confirm that he could sell it to some other dumbass, and then there's more dumbasses coming after the fact. They're all spending like stupid amounts of money.
Right.
Then they're no longer dumbasses. Now they're brilliant.
They're brilliant. Yeah.
They made a sound investment.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the problem. So yeah, just I guess the more and more we discover these like new projects and we recognize like how much is still missing. Like, dude, it's just more confirmation of like how, again, another assumption we made. We're like 2013, 2014 days, dude, of like, you know, as far as where we are as a space, dude, there's so much infrastructure left to be built. You know what I mean?
Oh, totally.
Before NFTs like start making sense to like everyone else, basically.
Yeah, I'm looking up the price of Bitcoin. It's hovering at 19K. I just decided to look it up because GBTC, it's like hovering at around $24. So that's a interesting fund that collects like a different basket of crypto. And it's cool because you can use your 401k money to invest in GBTC. So those with like those degree of funds can like at least get into Bitcoin through that angle.
True.
But I mean, cryptos to me is getting even more interesting just because of all these different updates that people are doing with these projects. Yeah. I think 2021 is going to be crazier from the crypto standpoint than this past year.
Well, yeah, things are going to accelerate pretty much at this point because now there's going to be more money being injected into this market and there's going to be more interest. There's going to be dumb money here.
Yeah.
Like right now, there's no dumb money. I mean, it's still pretty dumb, but not as dumb as it can be. You know?
Not as dumb as it will be.
As it will be, yeah. Whenever like the retail money comes in, people who just have no idea what they're buying, you know, they're just reacting basically, you know, just so yeah, you're gonna see lots of shilling. It's just Twitter is gonna be a cesspool of just like scams, like people just trying to take your money, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's how it was in 2017, man. It's just craziness everywhere.
You know what's even more crazier is that Bitcoin's hovering around 19K, and previous to this was in 2017 where it hovered at 19K for a couple of hours before it just tanked.
Yeah.
And right now it's just hanging out like it's easy, and there's no like craziness happening, right? Everybody's like still chill about it.
Yeah, I've seen it like mentioned on like CNBC a couple times, like, oh, Bitcoin is back. Like that's the big headline. But then they talk about it for like a minute or two. They bring on some like crypto expert and it's like, oh, you know, this time is different. And then they move on to the next segment because the fucking stock market is actually rallying way harder than this right now. You know, so that's actually way more interesting. Stock markets is in their euphoric peak phase right now, you know.
Yeah,
crypto is not.
You know, the hard part about the stock market is that you don't know how long that euphoric phase lasts because it could be years.
Yeah, it could. You're right. It could be. Fuck. I mean, I've been anticipating this shit to end for so long, and I'm just being wrong every year. They're proving me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because they just keep printing that, you know,
that burr.
Maximum speed, dude. Yeah, they burn all those dollars and bills out, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's how you do it, right? I mean, think about it. If you had the ability to print more money to prop up the stock market, well, that's what you're gonna do. And then, I mean, dude, this is like heavy insider trading because as soon as they know that they're gonna stop, they're gonna sell first, and then you're gonna see this 10-year-long bear cycle.
Yeah, it's gonna be nasty, dude. I don't want to live through that, but unfortunately, we're gonna have to.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to pay for our sins at some point. You know what I mean? As a society, like we let this shit go on for way too long, and we never were willing to like take the bad side of this. You know what I mean? We just kept delaying that over and over and over again. So yeah,
see, this is where
the inevitable bad is gonna hurt so much worse. It's gonna be crazy.
I think this is where the decoupling between the Bitcoin price and like the general stock market price like happens.
I don't know.
Because think about it.
That's what I'm all waiting for. I'm waiting for that confirmation.
The major crash happens, right? We're like in a 10-year. This is the start of a potential 10-year bear trend.
Yeah.
and Bitcoin is going to go down with it, but not as far as the stock market. The stock market, the general price, like the S&P 500 and all those indexes, they're going to go down way further than Bitcoin will go down. Because you're going to see Bitcoin go down to like, 20 grand, 15 grand, maybe like an ultimate bear, bring it back down to like $10,000 Bitcoin. But it's not going to go further. And then it's just going to go retrace right back up to like 100 grand and then go way further than that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess like.
And this is just math. Bitcoin, dude, it can't go lower than 10 grand after this next cycle. It can't. Like,
how come?
It won't do that just because it's worth more than 10 grand.
Okay. I don't know, man. Shit, Bitcoin is just too much for me to handle. Like, I just.
Dude, come on, man. You just gotta like, I don't know. It just, the math says that it's worth more, like, independently.
Yeah, see, I get that, and I naturally want to say like that's bullshit, but I can't because it just keeps going. Like it's fulfilling what it promises to do. And like every 4 years we're just gonna revisit this. Bitcoin's like it's retouching previous all-time high of like 150K or whatever it's gonna end up being.
Yeah.
And we're like, no way, it's gonna go to 500K, dude. Like,
yeah,
it's just like the same doubts will exist. But at some point, I have to be like, dude, you can't. I think for me, like, it has to be that you just call it that decoupling moment.
Yeah.
I need that confirmation that Bitcoin can.
Oh, it will, dude. I promise you, it will.
Yeah, it needs to exist like in its own like realm. I don't see that happening if what we're saying about this inevitable equities correction happens.
Yeah,
how are people going to rationalize amongst themselves like, you know what, everything in the traditional finance world is burning to the ground, like I need to park my money into like crypto assets now? Like,
yeah,
how is that reasoning going to enter like the
how does your question
population?
is, how does that become logical?
Yeah, for the boomer out there, who has never been exposed to this shit and they've been doubting it their whole lives.
Dude, you have to remember the boomer out there may never believe in Bitcoin and be like, no, I'd rather go into gold, even though it goes up 1% every decade.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Every decade.
Which is what they're probably wanting, right? They probably want that stability. But there's going to be a whole lot of people that lose off of this transition. And so that's part of the reason why, Bitcoin can go that high, is because there's going to be a lot of losers. And I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah, totally. I get that. So yeah, I mean,
see, but I guess the shocking thing to me is like after this bear cycle that comes after this cycle, this bull cycle, I don't. If it goes to 10 grand, which is like going below the previous all-time high, that would be a shock for me. That'd be a super shock. And then that's when you have to figure out how to buy as many Bitcoins as you can, because once it leaves, there's no way when it touches like $1 million, there's no way it's gonna go back down to like 10 grand or 50 grand or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, man, I know how this sounds like. It sounds crazy and like speculation and all that, and there's an asymptote. It's not like Bitcoin can go to infinite amount of dollars.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Even independently, even if they print out $1 zillion.
See, but the problem is if you wait around for these confirmations and shit, like by then it's too late.
Yeah,
like, or not too late, but it's too late to make any like the life-changing potential returns you can make by anticipating that decoupling event. And like, you have, it's basically, dude, it's almost like a religion. Like, you got to have total faith in this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like blind faith. It's not so much blind because, like I said, we have 10 years of data to support like the Bitcoin claim.
Yeah.
Like it's working. It continues to prove it, like its use. So yeah, at some point you gotta just like, surrender to Bitcoin Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, just give your soul to Satoshi and just just follow, dude. Just become a follower of Satoshi.
Yeah.
At some point, I think this might be it. Like,
Yeah.
fuck. Which
Yeah,
is crazy.
because ultimately, I mean, it's like Warren Buffett says, like when you invest in stock, you can only lose the principal, but you have an infinite amount of money to gain. Right?
100%. Yeah.
So buying Bitcoin, I mean, if you're gonna spend $10,000 on a Bitcoin, the maximum that you could lose is $10,000.
Yeah.
And so to me, it seems like a reasonable bet, especially when you have like every week that happens, there's like a new believer coming out and says, well, Bitcoin does sound like a safe haven for a lot of us rich people. It's like every week, man, there's that new person that says that, and every week that somebody says that Bitcoin price, the ultimate Bitcoin price, just keeps going up, right?
Yeah.
Because they believe in it, right? The more people that believe in Bitcoin, the higher the price is going to go, just because they believe in it. It's just like why the dollar works right now, because we believe that we can buy food with it.
Yeah. And eventually we're going to have to surrender, like me, myself, I have to surrender my preconceived notions of like right now I'm seeing a lot of like people just talk about crypto on like Facebook and shit like that, mainly about XRP, but like to me that's terrifying. Like whenever I see like regular people are already engaging in these discussions, they're already like asking how do I buy crypto and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like from my previous experience, to me that was my signal to get the fuck out of this space.
Yeah.
You know, but apparently the more and more I think about it, like this is supposed to be what happens. Like in order for crypto to like succeed, at some point like everyone has to be talking about it, right? Just like everybody talks about their money.
Yeah.
Like money is a ubiquitous product. We all have it. We all use it. It's a part of all of our lives, right? So if this is supposed to become the internet of money, like the same level of recognition needs to happen, I guess, from the general population, right?
Yeah.
So like at some point we got to stop being scared of the normies, like myself in particular. Like,
yeah, I see what you mean. Like,
I guess we're slowly transitioning into that like that actual adoption phase. You know what I mean? And that looks,
it's scary.
It looks different. Yeah, it looks weird. Like,
yeah, I see. I completely understand what you're talking about. The fact that
because it's not like stocks, right? You don't need stocks to live. Like you don't need to talk about stocks as a regular person.
Yeah.
Like it's okay if like 5% of the population like deals with stocks. You know, those are usually like the wealthiest people in society, right? Because they understand that game.
Yeah.
But for crypto and like Bitcoin specifically, it's like it's going to be part of everyone's life.
It is.
So it is a conversation that everyone needs to have at some point. You know, they're going to have to.
Yeah, there's countries now depend on cryptocurrency in order to, because their fiat currency is a runaway inflation. Mm-hmm. And so they can't operate under those conditions. Yeah. And so like you're saying, everybody's going to be talking about cryptocurrency because it's a part of daily life.
Yeah. At least that's the goal of it, right? To become that integral to our society. Like, fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's never been like an asset like this in exist, like to come about, I guess, since gold, basically.
Since gold?
Yeah, like imagine like
since gold. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
like in ancient society, like
it has similar properties, like the rarity and all that,
and like utility in the sense that like back then that was the only way you value things, right? It's like in gold.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be that.
I mean, our fiat currency used to be backed by gold, so
exactly.
Yeah, you're right.
Until we came up with like the scam model.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you know, everyone knows what I'm talking.
Yeah,
it's just it's all artificial now.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's done us a lot of good as a society for sure. Coming up with like our whole capital system, like it's been great. Like,
I think that's part of the evolution of humanity. Is that, you know, if you were to make a society in a petri dish, you'd probably see similar cadences in terms of like the development of an economy. Mm-hmm. Like you would start with like resources, like farming. And then you'd go into artificial tokens to represent value. Then you'd go into I don't know if fiat currency is like a natural evolution. It seems like such a scam, like a total scam.
It's a natural evolution to like
Like
I
now,
guess to
now fiat
incentivize
currency.
like the whole population to participate in this ecosystem, right?
Well, but the model of it, because we used to back fiat currency by gold, which made sense because there's only a limited amount of gold that you can reasonably, extract from the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But now that there's an infinite amount of money, that makes no sense. Like it makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's because we're only now starting to expose ourselves of these flaws, like because we're not letting these markets correct properly. So now we
Yeah,
have
that's
to.
right.
We got to pull these levers that we didn't have to pull in the past, which are exposing like the obvious,
Yeah, like
flaw of the system.
vulnerabilities. Yeah,
Yeah, vulnerabilities. Yeah, which is not good. Now all of a sudden there's like mass awareness. Like this whole thing is just a
but you know what?
charade.
I think we're in like an echo chamber. I don't think there's mass awareness. I think 99% of the people do not understand where money comes from. Still,
Yeah, it's true. That's how you're able to get away with it.
yeah. Oh, absolutely,
And maintain it. Because
absolutely.
as long as the mass majority don't understand and like whatever they're receiving that belongs to them, like still has that purchasing power. That's all that matters. Like,
Absolutely.
So
And that's why it's such a clear scam because people don't understand like what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And but I think once you explain even explaining it, it's like it's hard to believe. Like this is how our economic model works. Like but once they understand that and you compare that to Bitcoin, it's like a slam dunk of an investment.
yeah, it is what it is, man. It's tough to explain anything to anybody and like get everyone on board. It's just never gonna happen.
That's good.
Only thing people understand is like disaster.
Yeah.
That's so like as a culture, as a society, as a species, I guess we're more like of a reactionary type. Like
Yeah.
this the same can be applied to global warming and everything. Like there's been plenty of people sounding the alarm bell. There's plenty of data. There's plenty of everything to like for us to like recognize of a looming impending problem. But we're still not really doing what needs to be done to address it, right?
Yeah, and that looming problem that you're talking about, what if not Bitcoin? Where do you park your funds? Is it the default gold and silver?
I don't know. It can be. Why not? It's worked for thousands of years. So yeah,
I suppose.
you use the traditional vehicle. Plus now luckily there's a new vehicle.
Yeah.
In existence for those who want to exist on the internet. Yeah. Basically, who have complete faith in like at least you don't have to like store these valuable assets like actually in your possession, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
You can keep it all in the fucking.
Yeah, because I think the point of owning gold is that in this like apocalyptic scenario, you want to have the gold in your possession. Otherwise, it's like they'll just steal that gold from you, right? The banks.
Yeah.
Like,
true. But as long as the internet's up and running, right? Like,
sure,
you should always have access to your crypto. I guess that's like the benefit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I'm just thinking about like a true apocalyptic scenario. Like banks don't have any reason to give you your money.
No, of course not. They're not going to.
Yeah.
In a truly apocalyptic scenario, that's not going to happen. They're not going to just honor everyone's account.
Exactly.
Like, it's just not going to happen. So
even owning gold, that's what I'm talking about. Even owning gold, like they're not going to give you that value. And even then, like,
well, yeah, if you have like because
it's custodial.
Yeah, don't do that. If you're gonna buy gold, just find a nice spot in your backyard and like bury it or something. I don't know. Just make sure you know where it is. Like,
yeah,
that's just foolish.
That's so complicated though. Like,
yeah, it's just an additional burden on your life. Something you got to think about. Like, fuck, dude.
But you know what?
Like,
there's every generation thinks about apocalyptic scenario happening, and I don't know if the Great Depression is considered apocalyptic.
No, I think like what led after the fact, a world war. Yeah, that's pretty apocalyptic.
I would say so. Yeah.
For a lot of people, that was like as bad as it gets. You know what I mean? So the depression kind of leads into these type of events. Where now there's like rising conflict around the world, and
Yeah.
extreme poverty around the world, and then it's just like now there's reasons to like start attacking each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
when things start getting squirrely. So yeah, people like us, we haven't been exposed to that reality because we're younger. But
Yeah,
if you talk to your
but we're
grandparents
due,
and shit,
dude.
they'll understand.
Yeah, well, we're
You know?
due. I mean, it's things
Yeah,
like
we're
this
due.
happen every 100 years, right? I mean, we just experienced a 1 in 100 year pandemic.
Yeah, it seems like every 100 years, just some kind of like shift.
Yeah,
Just because it makes sense. It's like one generation has come and gone. Like usually to a 100 year span, like everyone's just gone, removed from the earth.
yeah,
So like the following generations seem to repeat like all the same mistakes that that previous one did. You
yeah,
know, because now we don't have the guidance of the wise.
yeah.
You know.
And then on top of that, the average fiat currency only lasts for about 100 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we're at that point now.
Yeah. Damn it, dude! How do we always end up in like doomsday?
I don't know. It's you know what? It's because that's what's happening. I mean, this
Yeah,
is like
it's pretty
this is
doomy
like
out there.
a 2020 has been the beacon of doom.
Yeah, but there's some good things happening. Like, what's some good things happening? Shit, I don't know. There's been some good songs and stuff.
Good song.
That's about it. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you're like a hardcore Democrat, like Trump lost the election, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
right?
I guess that is a good thing. But a lot of people would say that's a bad thing.
True. It's split. It's pretty much
So,
split 50-50.
can we
so.
think of an objectively good thing that's happened in 2020?
I mean, we're all still alive, like most of us,
I
right?
mean,
That's good.
that's a low bar though.
I guess. Not for me, dude. I'm happy just to be alive, so I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? At least I made it to 2020, and so did all of y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough doom, dude.
Yeah.
Let's cheer it up a bit.
So yeah, let's end this on a good note.
Yeah, so Bitcoin's flying, dude. It's crushing. Just because that's what it does. Ethereum today, right, is the 2.0 launch, I believe, December 1st.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh damn.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, but maybe next time we get on here, we'll maybe react to whatever happens from that. So far, not much price movement. We're still lingering around $600.
Yeah, where do you expect Ethereum to go?
I mean, I always thought like at some point Ethereum has to like catch up.
It has to catch up, right?
Like because Ethereum's previous all-time high was I think 1,400, right? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, 1,400.
So it's got quite a ways to go to catch up to that. Bitcoin's already there. So like at some point Ethereum should catch up. I mean, it doesn't have to. We don't have any precedents to prove otherwise. Like it's got to catch up to previous all-time high like Bitcoin does.
Yeah.
You know, but I would expect it to do so at some point. At some point in this cycle, like Bitcoin's gonna lose some steam, and then like Ethereum and like all the other altcoins just start rising and catching up to their previous valuations.
Yeah, it would be interesting to look at the chart, the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart, and see what the average ratio is between the two cryptocurrencies. Because I bet you if we look at it, you'll see that the trend is up. So you'll see that the Ethereum would have to start catching up to Bitcoin.
Yeah, I would imagine so too. Just in particular Ethereum, not necessarily every other altcoin, right?
Yeah,
I guess
agreed.
Like, at some point, I don't know, man. Like
it has to. It will.
Yeah, like is this really how this is gonna work? Like as long as you're like in the space, even if you're not like innovating, you're not creating, you're not improving like your ecosystem, your platform, whatever. Like just because you created a token in 2016, 2017, like are you really gonna like revisit those rallies from that cycle at some point in the future just by being affiliated in the market? Like is that how it's gonna work?
Yeah,
I don't know. I hope not. Hopefully, like these projects that actually don't have any merit to exist, hopefully they die. But they're not dying, dude. They're still lingering around.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, remember how we talked about how the business model of a cryptocurrency company is different? Like, you don't necessarily have to generate revenue, so to speak, in order to have a successful product, right?
Yeah.
You can just depend on the speculative asset of your token to like fund the progress.
All you have to do is like linger around and not like just don't rug pull, don't don't have any like fatal flaws in your smart contracts to where like everything just gets yacked.
Yeah.
You know, like just don't royally fuck up at all. And as long as you hold on like through these bear phases, like you don't have to do much, right? Like the money will just like refunnel into your token, you know, just out of affiliation. Like that seems to be what happens like in the altcoin market at some point, right? Like everything just goes up. Like once Bitcoin chills out, it all just starts going up. Some greater than others though, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
So we'll see.
So thank you for watching and listening to us talk about, you know, the updates as well as the doom of humanity as status quo of our podcast.
That's right.
So yeah, make sure you follow us on Twitter at The Block Runner and at MetaZone.io. And congratulations to everyone at Decentral Games for launching their token. Of course, the investment, everything, making progress in Decentraland. You know, there's still a lot left to be built in Decentraland, and you know, we're happy to have like a lot of these contributors like Decentral Games like pulling their weight. And so thank you guys for watching again, and we'll see you in a week.
Yep, sounds good. All right, we're out.
All right.
Peace.